Good evening, Miss Ashbury.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed.
Tell me about your adoption.
What do you want to know?
Who are your real parents?
Elizabeth Ashbury is my real mother. She raised me and has taken care of me all my life. I have no idea who my progenitors are or were.
Do you live with her?
I still spend a lot of time in my mother's mansion, but I have my own house now. I have a life to live, you see? And one day, I'll have my death to face.
How did you meet Lady Ashbury?
First, I was an orphan in the institution for girls she manages in the West End. When I was 10, she adopted me, and I have lived with her ever since.
Did you know she was a vampire when she picked you?
The correct word is Ekon, Doctor. And no, I had no idea why my mother only showed up at night. She told me everything when I turned 16, though I suspected the truth for a long time before that.
What are you doing out here?
You mean, what do I do outside at night since I am a woman? Let me ask you a question, sir. Would you ask the same question of a man?
Actually, yes. I ask the same question to everyone who dares to go outside at night, considering the risks.
Well, if you must know, I campaign for the right to vote for all women. Why should I wait to the age of 30 years when men can vote at 21?
Are you a suffragette, then? Ah, Elizabeth's girl. Without a doubt.
All adult women have the right to vote in the US, in New Zealand, and in Australia. But women here can't vote unless they are property owners.
No need to convince me, Miss Charlotte. I have shared your opinion for a long time. Even before I met Emmeline Pankhurst.
Really? Oh. Now I see why my mother appreciates you so much. Too bad there aren't more men like you in the vicinity.
How are the locals reacting to your claims?
People here can't wait for a wall to be built to isolate the West End from the rest of town. That's how progressive they are. If this happens, Emily and I will blow it up.
Explosives are very dangerous, young lady. And who is this Emily?
She is my best friend, and a suffragette too. She was supposed to campaign with me tonight, but hasn't turned up.
Have you any reason to be worried about her?
Recently, Emily started to believe in... well, she got interested in vampires. I'm afraid she might be in trouble.
Let me guess. You spoke to her about us, didn't you? Despite your mother's warning. I think I should try to find your friend.
Oh, that would be top-notch. I can tell you where she might have gone. You have my thanks, Dr. Reed. And please, don't tell my mother.
What exactly has your mother told you about me?
Your name and profession, obviously. And the mystery about your maker. I'm sorry to hear about what happened to your sister, sir. Mother says it was not your fault.
Does it not scare you to know what I am? What your mother is?
Why should it? My mother is the most compassionate woman. Must I be wary of her, Dr. Reed? Or you?
Perhaps it's wise for a mortal never to totally trust a vampire. Your mother herself told me that we Ekon are creatures of deception. Maybe it's because we seem so... alive.
That may be true for a naive girl. But I have the best teacher when it comes to getting rid of an insistent immortal.
Your mother is not like any other vampire I've met.
I believe she thinks the same about you, Dr. Reed.
Do you know why Lady Ashbury chose you to become her daughter?
No, I don't. Each time I ask her that question, she smiles and says it's precisely because I dare to ask such questions.
Do you ever regret that she chose you?
Of course not. Though I often wonder if she adopted others before me. If so, where are they buried? How was it for them to pass through life with a never-aging mother?
Your mother has refused to turn you into a vampire. Tell me more about it.
Each time we argue, Mother expresses the same fear. She wants me to remain alive and full of joy, rather than become melancholy and immortal. She claims you can't have one without the other. It's pure selfishness.
It's your mother's choice. As daughters and sons, we have to accept the decisions our parents make for us despite our own wishes.
I love my mother, and have accepted everything from her. Even that she named me Charlotte, when it was not my original name.
Does it bother you?
No. Whoever I was when I was born, I am now Charlotte Ashbury. It hurts as much as it makes me proud to know that's the name my mother will read on my tombstone.
Your mother has walked this earth for much longer than you or I. She is wise, and we should not ignore her advice when we disagree with it.
But why shouldn't I be allowed to forge my own experience? There can't be only one righteous way to deal with eternity.
Why do you still hope to become a vampire, in spite of your mother's refusal?
It's the immortal aspect of vampires that interests me. The world won't improve unless women take charge.
Obviously a clever woman with a good education and a brilliant future. But have you thought about the price you'd have to pay? The loneliness, the necessary masquerade.
Is it not true of every high position? To change this world and make it a better place, one needs time on one's side.
Tell me, Charlotte, how do you plan to achieve eternal life, since you've obviously given it a lot of thought?
I won't give up. You have no idea how determined I am, sir. I may contract a deadly disease. I may throw myself under a carriage, just to be saved by her sweet kiss.
That's a disturbing answer, young lady. And the worst part of it is, I know you speak the truth.
There are less dangerous ways, Doctor. Instead of throwing myself under a horse like Emily Davison, I could just throw myself into your arms.
Never. That would be betraying your mother's trust. She would never forgive us.
For sure. But look on the bright side. We would have eternity to reconcile.
Or an eternity to run away from your mother's mighty wrath. Quite a terrifying idea, don't you think?
Yes. I think it's wiser to let go of that part of the plan.
Goodbye, Charlotte. Give my best regards to your mother.
She's been quite busy these last few nights. I suspect...
Remember, don't let any strangers come into your house.
Good evening, sir. May I have your attention, please?
Come on, Johnny. Don't you recognize your oldest friend?
Clarence. Clarence Crossley. How are you? My God. So you survived the war too. So sorry I didn't recognize you at first.
I almost didn't recognize you either. War does that to men, I heard. In my case, it was true, for I witnessed the horror that lies underneath.
When did you escape the war and return to London?
You know what's funny? I almost never think about the war. Not anymore. I'm involved in another kind of battle now.
What is this new battle?
I saw terrible things during the war. Horrors I thought I'd forget. They're here too. They're everywhere. Vampires.
I know what you mean. I haven't had much time to think about the war either since my return.
Of course. With the epidemic, I bet you've been busy as well. Forgive me, Johnny, I didn't want to sound selfish.
How is your wife, Venus?
We've spent so much time away from each other, and so many things have happened.
But you're alive. You returned in one piece, and you have a family. How many soldiers can say the same?
Believe me, not quite that simple. Unlike you, I'm not the man I used to be.
Is everything all right at home? Surely Venus was relieved to see you return from France in one piece.
Have you forgot what people are like in this part of town, Johnny? Venus fears for our family reputation. Now her husband has become the village idiot.
Do you need medical assistance, Clarence?
It's a little late for visiting hours, don't you think?
What can I say?
I hope we're talking about the same habits, old friend.
You need some rest, Clarence.
Women die too in this war.
Good evening, miss. Can I help you? I'm a doctor. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
I am Karina Billow. I don't need any doctor. The rats. Where are the rats?
Miss, you don't seem well at all. Are you afraid of rats? Has one bitten you?
No, it's me who bites them. Tasty, juicy, disgusting rats. I can't stop eating them. Help me, please. Help me to disobey the voice. The rats. The answer hides in their little crunchy bones, their juicy, tiny brains.
Miss Billow, please, try to concentrate. Why do you worry about rats so much?
The voice in my head. He forces me to do so. Drink their blood, he said. Eat their flesh.
Do you feel compelled to obey that voice, Miss Billow? Even if you're loath to submit to it?
Yes. Please. Help.
Tell me about the voice in your head. Who is it? Can you describe it? Is it someone you know? Someone you met?
Keep your mouth shut, he said. Don't ever speak about me, or I'll abandon you. Help me, please, Doctor.
Tell me about yourself, Miss Billow. What do you do for a living?
Oh, I'm hungry. Need to eat. Have you got something for me? Blood, perhaps? Can you give me blood, Dr. Reed?
Don't you remember who you are, miss? What you did for work?
I was strong, proud. I campaigned for good causes. But that was before. Before. It does not matter anymore. I'm so hungry.
What is the local news hereabouts, Miss Billow?
Shadows. Shadows hunting shadows. Whispers in the dark. Pestilence. Suffering. Death.
I must...
It could be someone. Do you know where you are standing right now?
In front of the Ascalon Club, I presume.
The Ascalon Club only summons or ostracizes. What is your business tonight?
I received an invitation. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Welcome to the Ascalon Club, then, Dr. Reed. Please proceed. Lord Redgrave is waiting on you upstairs.
There has been quite a battle here. I'm sure the Ascalon Club has the money to replace the furniture.
Good evening. We repel the intruders for now.
My good friends, if I may have your attention, behold Reed, newborn of blood so pure and strong that even my friend Fergal Bansha was no match for him.
Hear, hear, hear!
Come forward, young Ekon, for we have so much to discuss. Welcome to the Ascalon Club, Dr. Reed. I am Lord Redgrave, Earl of Bristol and chairman of this exclusive association.
Lord Redgrave.
At last we meet. I've been eager to make your acquaintance. I've heard some astounding things about you. Please accept my condolences for your loss, Dr. Reed.
Thank you, my lord. Lady Ashbury expressed your wish to meet me.
Yes. The lady has always been a useful acquaintance, though not always reliable. Is she a good friend of yours?
Yes, she is. I may even say I admire her probity and her kindness. She has helped me since I was reborn.
The centuries have taught me never to trust a woman completely, especially if she is immortal. Too prone to emotions, if you ask me. Too fickle when it comes to important decisions.
My lord, do not expect me to speak ill of Lady Ashbury.
Of course not, and I praise your loyalty. Would you offer the same fidelity to the Empire?
What do you mean?
I speak of the Skull Plague that threatens London and the country. You have been on the front line in the East End, but the time has come to open up a second front here.
The epidemic has escaped the quarantine. You have new cases of the outbreak.
We don't know for certain, but we cannot allow the disease to threaten the prominent heads of Great Britain.
Why have you asked me here?
Because the crisis is escalating. Our enemies, the Garda Priwen, have even launched an open hunt. The only way to calm things down is to put an end to the epidemic.
You want me to find possible sources of the outbreak in the West End? Is that it?
Ah, straight to the point, like all eager newborns. We shall have time to talk about all this, Dr. Reed, but first, I should like to get to know you better.
Talk? Is that the only reason you asked me here?
Well, no. I also wanted to meet the intriguing Ekon who made such a powerful progeny of his sister. You have not learned the name of your maker, am I correct?
No, I haven't.
Have no embarrassment, Dr. Reed. We all make mistakes. But whatever your lineage, you are definitely Ascalon material.
What do you mean?
I would like you to become a member of the Ascalon Club, and to serve me as such.
Before I accept, I have so many questions.
Please ask.
What is the Ascalon Club's express purpose?
We follow the credo of William Marshall, the greatest knight who ever lived. As was he, we are sworn to protect the British Empire.
William Marshall founded the Ascalon Club.
Not exactly. William Marshall granted me immortality, and I founded the club a few years later. The good knight has been gone for so long.
What does Ascalon mean?
Ascalon was the lance wielded by St. George, glorious patron saint of England when he slew the dragon. And like that lance, we pierce the hearts of all our nation's enemies.
I killed Fergal, who claimed to be one of yours, sent to cleanse the East End of all skulls. Will his death be an issue?
Do not worry. My priorities have changed. Fergal was a zealous servant of mine, but like any servant, he had his limitations and is readily replaced if necessary.
I agree to join the club.
This is good news. Good news indeed in these crucial times. Let's inform the Assembly formally and proceed with your initiation.
My initiation?
Fear not. Nothing fancy nor dangerous. It is just that we, the members of Ascalon, believe that tradition and custom are the backbone of this country. My fellow members, dear friends, please gather and welcome this Ekon as one of our own.
Is he worthy? Is his blood pure?
Well, speak, Dr. Reed, in front of the most sacred blood. The blood of our beloved William Marshall, speak now. Will you serve and protect the crown as he did?
Yes, I will.
Then, young Ekon, it is time to testify with your blood. It is time to sign the Book of Allegiance. I know it's awfully gothic and a tad pedantic, but England's traditions are the backbone of our nation. Delightful. Welcome to the Ascalon Club, Dr. Reed. Take your place among the bearers of the lance.
One of us! One of us!
Good evening, Dr. Reed. How does it feel to be this evening's centerpiece? Figuratively.
This is an outrage. We shall chase these intruders.
I feel perfectly fine. Do I have cause for concern?
Do not be alarmed. The Ascalon Club has a tried and tested policy for choosing its initiates.
May I ask who you are, sir?
Why would you be interested?
Well, as you seem to be the only man in the room with a beating heart, you draw quite a bit of attention yourself.
Ah, vampire senses never cease to fascinate me. They dwarf those of mere mortals. I am Aloysius Dawson, by the way.
Mr. Dawson, of Dawson and Dawson, the wealthiest man in England. It is a pleasure to meet such a prominent figure of London.
A withering London figurehead, to be precise.
Are you sick, Mr. Dawson? I am a doctor, you know.
My case is beyond the scope of traditional medicine. I have spent fortunes on the world's most competent doctors to arrive at that diagnostic conclusion.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Should I suppose that you're here in search of some form of immortality?
Absolutely not. I'm here to implement my plan to save the city I was born in. To cast out the ghastly evil that has us all on our knees.
What is the situation like in this part of town?
I am sure Lord Redgrave will enlighten you more effectively than I.
Money cannot solve every problem. This mysterious epidemic is going to require more than money can buy.
You're right. Money is nothing to wield it. I have a plan, sir. A radical one that will save all that is essential in London.
What is your plan, then?
Quarantine and barricades are futile. What we need is a wall. A formidable, unscalable wall to isolate the deserving from the infected masses.
Complete isolation has proven effective throughout history, but the death toll has always been a high one.
I am glad you understand the concept of necessary sacrifice.
Are you not mistaking sacrifice for summary execution?
Why do you care? Are you not a vampire? Removed from all mortal concerns? Decisiveness is what the city needs, and it needs it now.
That went well, did it not?
Have you heard the rumors?
It is always useful to bolster the troops' morale, especially before a difficult battle.
You have the makings of a general, my lord.
I was, though very long ago, Well, not quite a general, but a proud defender of the crown.
So why did you really want to meet me?
Straight to the point again, young Ekon. All right, let's talk, you and I, Lance Sparrow.
I'm listening, my lord.
According to my spies, you have worked with Dr. Edgar Swansea on the epidemic, and your findings were quite alarming.
Do you know Edgar Swansea?
Not personally, but I've been told he has some sort of immortal fetish and is a good friend of yours.
Does it bother you that I consider him my good friend?
As long as you reveal nothing of the club's inner workings, why should I forbid you engaging in conversation with the good Dr. Swansea?
Yes, I'm convinced the recent invasion of frenzied Skulls in London is directly linked to the epidemic. This is not the Spanish flu, but something else.
I would be glad to hear more of your discoveries, Dr. Reed, but for now, my main concern is the security of London's inhabitants, both mortal and immortal.
What do you mean?
Alarmed by the epidemic, the Guard of Prewen has started a war against us British vampires. To appease the situation, we must eradicate the Skulls.
Skulls are malevolent and disgusting creatures.
I knew I was right to induct you, Dr. Reed. You would not dare lie to me on such a vital topic now, would you?
So, what do you want me to do?
I want you to investigate the city thoroughly. I have reason to fear there are cases of contagion in this part of town. Our absolute priority is to find and cleanse them.
And how would you like me to proceed?
By all means necessary, Dr. Reed. You are now a member of the Ascalon Club, and you have carte blanche. Interrogate the locals, follow all the leads you find, and get results.
Welcome to the Ascalon Club, then, Dr. Reed.
I think Lord Redgrave just suggested I was sired by an ancient vampire.
Support the equality between men and women.
Good evening, Miss Ashbury.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed.
I'm investigating the source of the epidemic in this district. Have you noticed anything unusual recently?
A few days ago, I spotted a strange house while campaigning for women's suffrage. Awful smell. No answer when I knocked.
Where is it?
It's the Mullaneys, a nice family who live in a big house near the park in the eastern part of this neighborhood.
Goodbye, Charlotte.
She's been quite busy these... Tasty rats. Those clever rodents are cautious now. They won't approach.
I'm investigating the source of the epidemic in this district. Have you noticed anything unusual recently?
Infection. Infection. The rats carry it, I heard. Rats. 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 Many rats around that big house. Funny smell, too. Dead flesh.
And where is this house?
West of the park. Not very far. A big house with no sound, no light, no life left.
I must go now. Why are vampire hunters sniffing around here? I need to find out what they're after.
Fear no evil!
Stupid thing!
This woman's body has multiple lacerations. They're deep, too. Whoever did this was driven by rage. He had his tongue removed and his eyes gouged out. He was a victim of brutal torture. This one's neck is broken. He was young. Probably the son.
You thought I was dead too, didn't you? No, I was just pretending. Doris told me I could have been a great actress.
You killed your family.
They mocked my talent. Ah!
I've never seen such a radical mutation. Could it be a new stage in the disease's evolution? So, this girl took lessons at the famous Doris Fletcher acting school.
Women of all countries unite! War. Women's right to vote is only the first.
Good evening, sir. Please forgive me for disturbing you. I'm a doctor.
I never judge a man by his title, but by his attitude. And you are not disturbing me at all. I am Calhoun Russell, and I welcome you.
Well, I must admit it's good to receive a warm welcome for once. I'm Jonathan Reed.
Welcome, Dr. Reed. Welcome to my humble shop.
How is the situation in this part of town?
Life is good and peaceful. We're lucky to live in such an era of progress and wonders.
Are you not concerned about the epidemic?
Oh, I'm sure the authorities would take the appropriate measure if the danger were that high.
I'm afraid the newspapers are seriously underestimating the situation. Things are critical, believe me.
Well, that's news then. But I can't believe that things are that bad. Are you sure you're not exaggerating a bit? For the thrill of it?
What can you tell me about this place?
I recently found the best steak and kidney pie in the city. I'd be glad to share the address if you want.
Finding a good restaurant? Is that really all that interests you?
Oh, I have many passions, but nothing brings me ecstasy like subtle and exquisite flavors from my teeth to my belly.
I must confess, I have quite specific tastes when it comes to nutrition.
Really? Well, I'm always happy to try new exotic meals. If you ever find an intriguing table, please share the address.
Is it not a little too late to be trading?
On the contrary, it is the perfect hour. Believe me, my friend, it is always at night that you meet the most fascinating characters.
But what about the epidemic? The bombs and raids? And all the random violence?
Please, sir, this is London, England. We will prevail. And if a bomb must fall on my shop, then I'll be there to hear it falling.
So you prefer to work at night?
Oh, I also enjoy a sunny day like everybody else. But the night always has a certain je ne sais quoi of its own.
Do you have any family nearby?
Not since my parents died. I'm London's lone gourmet.
Really? But you seem to be such a pleasant and sociable fellow.
I'm afraid the real hedonist has to be sometimes. I discovered ecstasy as a solitary pleasure, but it does not mean it can't ever be shared.
London's lone gourmet. What a a strange title.
I used that name in my early years when I was a food critic, and I kept it.
I may have a look at your goods, Mr. Russell.
Good evening, Doc.
I'm investigating the source of the epidemic in this district. Have you noticed anything unusual?
Not really. Wait, now that you mention it, I don't see the McPhersons in my favorite restaurants. They love delicate meals too, you understand.
Thank you. It may be nothing, but I'll investigate anyway. Where do they live?
They have a house in the southern part of the district, somewhere north of the railway bridge. There is a courtyard, if I remember rightly.
Goodbye, Mr. Russell. Hello? Is anyone there?
Jonathan, is that you? I did not know you were back in London. Oh, my dear Johnny. I'm so sorry for your loss. Mary was such a sweetheart.
Thank you, Venus. May I come in?
I was going to bed, actually.
I'm sure you can spare me a few minutes. For old time's sake.
Of course you may enter, Jonathan. I'm so sorry for your loss, Jonathan. At least you survived the Great War. I feared the worst. You know that you are always welcome here. But at this hour of night?
It's locked. It's a pleasure to see you again, Venus.
So you returned from the war in one piece too. Thank God. My Clarence is back home too.
How is the old rascal?
Probably outside, chasing ghosts and chimeras. Clarence has changed a lot since he returned from the war, you know.
Venus, why do you worry so much about your family's reputation?
Everyone laughs at Clarence now. And they avoid me because they believe I share his insane opinions. I'm a leper in my own community.
How have you been since the last time we met? How long has it been? 3 years now?
I've done my duty, like all British women. You have no idea what it was like to wait for months without knowing if I'd still be a wife or a widow.
I understand. Luckily, this part of town has been saved from the worst of the bombings, from what I've seen.
Yes, and it's also true about the epidemic. The flu has killed here too, of course, but not on such a large scale as in other parts of town.
Have you noticed anything peculiar about the neighborhood recently?
You mean except for your return to town? No. Oh, and again, Jonathan, please accept my condolences for your sister.
Thank you, Venus. It was so sudden, and I've been so busy, I haven't spoken to anyone about it.
I wish I could have assisted at the funeral, but you know, it's been so quick. And what with the epidemic in the streets?
There's no need to apologize, my dear. It's normal, considering the circumstances.
No, it's not. I am sure that Clarence has not even thought to present you his condolences. He is too busy with his penny dreadful stories.
Tell me about Clarence's obsession with vampires.
It drives me so crazy it makes my stomach hurt. I was so relieved to have him back. But I quickly realized he'd lost his mind in France.
I understand your irritation, Venus. But you have to accept the trauma Clarence endured on the battlefield.
The question is simple, Jonathan. Is my husband mad? Yes or no? Do vampires exist? Or is Clarence a lunatic?
So you don't believe Clarence?
If poor Mary, bless her soul, had tried to convince you of the existence of bloody vampires, would you have believed her? Seriously?
The important question is, What do you really think of your husband?
I'm tough, Jonathan. He should have told me the horrors he witnessed, however appalling it was, instead of inventing a fantasy about blood-drinking monsters.
What do you think about Clarence squandering his fortune on his obsession?
Soon we'll be poor, and forced to sell the house. Where will we go? In which filthy, infected part of town will we end up? I'm so afraid.
I'm investigating the source of the epidemic in this district. Have you noticed anything unusual?
The McPhersons. I heard they locked themselves in their own house.
They could just be afraid of getting sick.
Perhaps you're right. But if I were you, I'd pay them a visit. A big house, reachable through a courtyard, to the north of the railway.
Good.
At least you survived the Great War.
No invitation is needed to enter this building. That can't be a good sign. No sign of a struggle. It seems Charlotte's friend knew the killer. Emily wanted to become a vampire. Something must have gone wrong. Someone is responsible for this mess. But who? Blood. I should follow the trail.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
I could ask you the same question.
I'm the Marquis de Bois-Colombes, and I strongly invite you to find your own game, sir.
I appreciate the invitation, but I'm here to solve the mystery concerning the death of a young woman killed by a vampire.
A young woman killed by a vampire? Oh, you're joking, right? Oh, I do love the British sense of humor.
I followed the trail of blood from her room to here.
Oh, you're referring to that young woman. Yes, the meeting turned messy. I'm afraid I ruined my last redingote.
So you admit you murdered her?
I admit nothing, my good sir. I only regret the blood of that girl staining my clothes. Oh, blood can be so messy.
What happened?
She wanted to become one of us. Not the first time I have received such a proposal, but I must admit her direct approach tempted me.
And then what?
The body rejected my blood. It happens, you know, sometimes even with voluntary prey. At least her gurglings brought me some fun, until the artery burst.
Your cruelty deserves punishment, sir.
And what else is new?
To let your guard down.
Support the
Good evening, Miss Ashbury.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed.
I have found out what happened to your friend, Emily.
I can handle the truth. There's no need to hide the bloody details.
Your friend was planning to become a vampire. She thought she'd met an honest one and made a deal with him. Unfortunately, Emily did not survive the process.
My mother told me many times about the risks of being turned. I often suspected she exaggerated the danger to avoid me being tempted.
No, the risk is real. Have you any idea what a body has to endure? To become an organism entirely consumed by its need to process and recombine blood.
I should never have talked to Emily about vampires. I never thought she'd actually try it without me. Thank you, sir. Here, take this for your discretion.
Goodbye, Charlotte. Give my best regards to your mother when you see her.
She's been quite busy these last few nights. I suspect you may see her before me.
That building is under quarantine. Could this be what I'm looking for?